It's Cancer season, which is a nostalgic, sentimental time of year. Cancer governs the past. So walk with me, will you, down memory lane, back to a year 2018. What was alive within your universe in 2018? How does your reality in 2025 look different than how it looked in 2018? Probably quite a bit. And the reason I'm having you reflect on 2018 is because 2018 was the last time before this week, specifically July 7th, 2025, that we had Uranus step into a new sign. 2018 was when Uranus entered Taurus, a story that is being wrapped up temporarily this year and finally next year. We're getting a taste of the Uranus and Gemini story, a story that will be written until 2033. And as you reflect on how different your world as it stands now looks with Uranus leaving Taurus from what your life looked like when Uranus entered Taurus in 2018, you can be certain that there are some shakeups in store. That's the nature of Uranus. And this is the purpose of life: to evolve, to grow, to change, to shake things up if they fundamentally do not serve you. Because this is one of the major themes woven within Uranus's electric currents, is this rally cry of "to thine own self be true." Uranus energy zaps away anything that is not completely true to self. And it asks us to embrace our eccentricity, embrace the ways that we go against the grain, embrace the ways that we are not cookie cutter. And so with the energy of Uranus entering a new sign, there could be a new journey that you're stepping into this week, but it goes until 2033 around stepping into novel sides of yourself, maybe even sides of yourself that you've ignored or been ashamed of or thought would be considered as weird. Expect the unexpected energy. So there could be parts of your Uranus and Gemini story that you most certainly did not have in what you thought the plot was going to be, the outline that you had intended. And thinking back to what your life looked like in 2018, I'm sure much of what Uranus and Taurus had in store also was quite shocking. But while Uranus can be a very chaotic, erratic sort of planet, it can also be a liberating one in that it does ask us to live in deep alliance with who it is that we are as the protagonists. We may not know where the plot is going, but with Uranus energy, so long as you stay true to yourself, your own integrity, you've got you, regardless of where the plot is going. So long as you stay fiercely devoted and dedicated to self, co-signed by Saturn and Neptune in Aries, you will find that you'll be able to integrate any changes, any plot twists that the universe throws your way. Because trying to control Uranus is like trying to catch a bolt of lightning. You just can't. It's too unpredictable. It's too erratic. So you can either try to catch the lightning bolts or just shrug and enjoy the lightning storm. That's really the ask when it comes to Uranus energy, which I know those of you who have strong Saturn in your charts, those of you who have strong Virgo in your charts, Capricorn in your charts, signs who like a structure and like a plan, this energy can make you feel a bit uneasy. Listen, lightning is going to be what it is. People are going to be who they are. A lot of working with astrology is just flowing with what is and not forcing against what is not. And that's why we call this Magic Monday. It's all around how you can work with this astrology as well as hold the vision for the best possible way that this week's astrology and every week's astrology can unfold for you. So while Uranus energy can be chaotic, unpredictable, erratic, this could also be an energy around a light bulb moment. I mean, a real eureka, I've got it energy. Uranus is that of inventor, mathematician, scientist archetype, right? And owning our own inner mad scientists in a sense, like our own kookiness, our own authenticity, and being open for those light bulb moments, those moments of genius, those moments of brilliance. This is also Uranus. And with Uranus entering Gemini, this could be a paradigm shift. This could be a perspective shift. This could be a new idea Again, I say new idea with some caution because Mercury retrograde is in its pre-retrograde shadow phase. So it's not the time that you necessarily need to get this inspired idea and change your whole life. Although typically Uranian currents of restlessness and rebellion can make us tempted to do so. But this could be the energy around changing your mind and changing your life, having a new idea that paves the way for a new lease on life, like fresh new eyes, a fresh perspective. And as we walk into this week's astrology, there is a necessary nimbleness, is that a word? That is required here around being able to pivot, being able to shift gears if need be. Sometimes Mercury in its pre-retrograde shadow period can bring changes of plans and technical difficulties and miscommunications. You know, Uranus may be entering a new sign for the first time in 2018, but Saturn could not let Uranus steal the show. They may be neighbors in the cosmos. Saturn and Uranus are right next to each other. They could not be more different. Whereas Uranus energy is about the future, about innovation, invention, protesting, rebelling. Saturn is around structures, order, society, regulations, the status quo, really. But I think Saturn and Uranus, though they seem very different, and they are very different. Uranus is the mad scientist. Saturn is the grumpy neighbor who's telling you to get off their lawn. You know, they're quite different, but I think there is something to be said that you need to know the rules in order to break them. You need to abide by the rules of physics and reality in order to invent new things or create new things. And the reason we're having this Saturn sprinkle over this week is because Saturn stations retrograde this Saturday. We also have a Capricorn full moon on Thursday, July 10th, which of course answers to Saturn. So Saturn's also making its presence known. And when Saturn stations retrograde, there is a reminder, a resounding reminder within the cosmos, embedded within our lives down here on planet Earth, that actions have consequences. You do something, there will be a consequence to it. For every action, there is a reaction, so on and so forth. And this could also show up in positive ways. If you feel like you've been chiseling something and really working towards something and waiting for your payoff, waiting for those positive fruits of your labor, Saturn retrograde can also bring that. But with this Capricorn full moon and Saturn retrograde, there definitely can be a reflection around what it is that you are building out in the world. And if what you are building out in the world is a genuine reflection of who it is that you are within your inner world, with all of the wackiness, with all of the authenticity that you carry with your Uranus and Gemini, there is a desire this week to really reclaim the pen of writing your own story. And there can be a perspective shift if you feel like you have wrote it for other people, in a sense, and really wanting to honor where you want a plot twist. Maybe you are the one who's creating a plot twist with Uranus energy. It's not always life. Sometimes it's us, where we find, listen, this book, I've played by the rules. I've built what I was expected to build, and this is not me. It's time for a shift of some sort. Uranus energy can also be alive in that way as well. And so in this week's Magic Monday episode, we will be discussing everything that you need to know about the astrology from July 6th until July 13th, 2025, with the major celestial events that this week's astrology has in store. But before we get into that, you know, the sun is transiting a water sign, so we're absolutely going to need some hydration. Let's go ahead and take it into Cosmic Cafe. So take a step inside my Cosmic Cafe. Let me know what you are sipping on to start your week. I am sipping this adorable LaCroix. It's strawberry peach flavor. I'm going to give you a close-up because it's so cute. Like, you're kidding. The little hearts, the little flowers, the little strawberries. You guys know me. I am enticed by branding. Even though Neptune retrograde is really a review around where we're being lured in. And when I saw this LaCroix, I was absolutely lured in. And I really consider myself a sparkling water connoisseur. I'm very passionate about my sparkling water. I have very strong opinions about sparkling water, some of which I've shared on this channel. And I've never seen this flavor. Have you guys seen this flavor before? It might be like a new summer flavor. It's amazing. How could you mess that up? I mean, with strawberry peach, there's no way that you could possibly mess that up. So let me know what you are sipping on to start your week. Listen, Uranus is entering Gemini. Uranus has its gifts, much of which we will explore within this video, but Uranus also has its faults. It's the planet that governs electricity. And that just always feels so true when I think about the nature of Uranus, is that it really is like those zaps, those bolts of energy sometimes when you feel randomly inspired for something, or you suddenly download or channel the solution on something or a new idea. But it also can be when it just feels like electric currents are going through your body. Like it can feel like a more nervous energy. And especially with Uranus entering Gemini, a sign that has all of the thoughts and all of the ideas. An unfortunate side of this transit that we're stepping into is that it can lead to a lot of overthinking, feeling like our brain is electrified, feeling like our nerves are being zapped. And so I would encourage you at this time to make it a regular practice to really channel your mind, because this can be such a brilliant transit, an inspired transit, a time of innovating new perspectives, but it also can be a very chaotic, all over the place, scattered energy. And so if you are like me and you are wanting to step into the timeline of Uranus around feeling into the power of one's mind, the focus of one's perspective, being able to focus this innovative energy towards particular aims, I would encourage you to join me within the Aura 30-day meditation challenge. I was so excited that so many of you did my last Aura 30-day meditation challenge with me, and I'm so excited that we're doing it again. This time, I've crafted a playlist all around focus of the mind for more productivity, for more creativity, for more innovative problem solving and creative thinking. It really is around being able to step out of the mind that created the problem in order to find the solution. And it's helpful to really chisel and channel your mind in order to allow these electric currents of Uranus to flow. And to do that, meditation is my number one way to do that. I've shared with you all, I've been very vocal in this channel about how profoundly meditation has changed my life. And Aura is the app I use, and here's why. So Aura is an all-in-one mental wellness app. And I'm telling you, mental wellness with Uranus and Gemini is going to be key, because Uranus can be very unstable. Uranus energy could be very erratic. Uranus energy could be very unpredictable, and it's hard to ground new ideas if you are not present. And Aura really supports with presence by way of mental wellness. So I primarily on Aura utilize it for its meditations. The meditations are incredibly high quality, but there's also sleep tracks, life coaching, hypnosis, CBT, really anything that you would want to leverage in order to support your mind and thus support your life, you can find on Aura. And why I love it and why I've used it for as long as I have is because I really love how it gets to know me. It just knows me. It just knows me. It knows my brain. It knows what I need. And it'll get to know you as well. It utilizes thousands of data points in order to serve you recommendations around what will genuinely support your journey. You take an extensive questionnaire when you sign up for Aura, where it supports you in getting to know your aims and your goals and what you struggle with and what you're striving for. So it serves you content that will genuinely support your journey. So as I stated, we're doing a 30-day meditation challenge, 33-day, I had to sprinkle in the angel number in there, but we're going to do a 33-day meditation challenge to kick off Uranus and Gemini. If you'd like to join me, I created the playlist that we'll be utilizing. And so I really recommend this. If you already find that you struggle with focus, meditation is one of the best way to really teach your brain to come back to a certain focal point. I've found that I am so much more productive since I've started meditating, and I think that's going to be incredibly important with this transit that we're stepping into on and off until 2033. So if you'd like to join me in this meditation challenge, you can try Aura for free. Click the link below. The first 500 people will get 25% off. Aura, thank you so much for sponsoring this video and bringing more focus, productivity, and clarity into my life. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into Vibe Check of the Week. We got the incense going, so that means that we are ready for Vibe Check of the Week. Vibe Check of the Week is a segment here on Magic Monday where we take all of the various components of this week's astrology and every week's astrology and compare it to a real life scenario. This is not me suggesting that this exact situation is going to play out within your universe, but if you tune in to some of the major themes, vibes, and dynamics, you may see that similar ones surface as you navigate your week. And so within this week's astrology, with Venus trine Pluto, Uranus entering Gemini, a Capricorn full moon, trining Mars, Saturn stationing retrograde in Aries, that astrologically we can compare to this situation. We'll say one night you are having a hard time sleeping. You know, we've got Venus in Gemini and now Uranus in Gemini. All of the thoughts, okay? All of the thoughts. Gemini placements astound me with the way that they are able to think at a lightning pace, communicate so quickly and with such intelligence. Like, it really is just an energy that I'm constantly astounded by and I reach for in an aspirational way. I'm a Gemini midheaven, so I strive to integrate more of that, but I don't have any Gemini placements myself. But an unfortunate downside of Gemini energy is that it's hard to be able to see multiple perspectives of things or to have two lanes of thoughts happening at all times, or to just have so many gosh darn thoughts in that brain can be part of the Gemini experience that we are all grappling with at a time such as this. And so we will say that you cannot sleep because of all of the racing thoughts that are coming in. And it's actually not showing up in an anxiety sort of way. You definitely are not very restful at a time like this. You're very restless and you're just watching the minutes and the hours go by. But it's more so out of this energy of excitement and inspiration around having a new idea. But it's more of a new perspective because the data has been there all along. As I stated earlier, Mercury is in its pre-retrograde shadow period. So it's not necessarily the time around, I'm going to open a popsicle stand and you go open a popsicle stand. I mean, you do have free will. Uranus energy reminds us of that. But when it comes to the astrology we're navigating in July, it typically is the best for things that are already ongoing. It's a great time to complete the incomplete around what in your story has already been written, or the clues that you have learned about yourself as the protagonist, really. Because you have this perspective shift in the middle of the night when you cannot sleep, and you realize that you know exactly what it is that you want to do. You've been navigating this energy around feeling so uncertain of your path. You know, you're in a certain career and you're not feeling very fulfilled with it. It's definitely the job that you were expected to get, the path that you were expected to go down. But there is a recognition, this is not my path. This is not me trailblazing my own path. And this path is mine to trailblaze it if I so choose to. A more dangerous or risky path to carve it yourself. It's a more fulfilling path, I would argue. But it is the harder path because it does prompt a lot of self-discovery. It does prompt you to stay very devout in who it is that you are, even amidst pushback from others around this is not what's expected. This is not what's anticipated. This is not what's normal. Life is not easy regardless of what path you go down. But I just say that in terms of carving your own path. There's so much uncertainty and there's so much unknowns around what is ahead. If you stay in the stable path, you have some sense of what's to come. If you stay doing what it is that you've been doing, you know what to expect because it's what you've been doing. If you go down a path that's been carved, you know what's to come. There's already been people who are ahead of you on the path. So you know, okay, step A, step B, this part will lead to this part that leads to this part. And so you have this aha in the middle of the night around recognizing that this path was not mine. And with Saturn retrograde in Aries, what is it that I am building? What have I built thus far? This could be a reevaluation phase, you know, giving very Seven of Pentacles for my tarot girlies out there, tarot guys, tarot days, very Seven of Pentacles. It's evaluating. There's been work that's been underway with Saturn this far into Aries, and now it's time to retrace our steps. And like I said, there's an energy we're having a light bulb moment around maybe not exactly where the plot is going or what's going to be there at the end, but having this like light bulb moment around the step that you want to take in order to align yourself with your own authentic path. you recognize as you think through your career thus far, as you think through the various steps, what you enjoy about your career, what you don't enjoy about your career as much, you think through the various components of that and you arrive to a conclusion. It's been there all along. You know, sometimes we look for purpose or look for the answers or look for like, what am I going to do with my life? And we look for it in this very like big picture ways when sometimes it's the small things. Like as you think through your career thus far, you are thinking through the data of just the little things that light you up within your day-to-day reality. Like you just think about the conversations that you have with coworkers or when you banded the workplace together in order to advocate for healthier options within the company cafeteria or something like this, or the time that you were involved in this particular situation that required you to advocate for your team. Like you think through the data of your work thus far and you recognize, oh, it's the people that I really enjoy, or this idea of advocacy on behalf of the people that I work with. Like that's the clue. That's what lights you up. Again, with Mercury retrograde in Leo, Leo is ruled by the sun. What lights you up? What gives you light and what drains your light from you? And Mercury retrograde is a time of reevaluation. It's a time of coming inward. And so you just have this light bulb moment of what you enjoy, of what gives you energy. We'll say that you work in public relations and you really don't enjoy it that much. It feels kind of phony. You feel like you have to be really fake. You feel like you have to butter up these journalists so that they write about your company. You feel like you have to be shady about certain things rather than genuinely creating change from the inside out. And so you just have this contemplation, this perspective shift, this aha. You review the clues around, I'm constantly anxious all of the time, checking my emails for journalists and them responding to us and crafting these various press releases and maybe fogging out certain details to not illuminate them about the company. And I have to just write so much, write all of these press releases, go to these company happy hours and talk about things that I don't even particularly enjoy. And so you're thinking of all of these clues and you have this like aha moment as you assemble all the clues around, I don't like work. I'm constantly stressed. I don't like these aspects. I do like people, but I favor deeper conversations, really getting to know someone or really wanting to team build. You're putting the clues together and somehow at 1 a.m, you have that eureka moment where you realize I don't want to be doing what it is that I've been doing. And maybe you have some sort of aha on what exactly you want to change. Maybe you want to pivot and go into human resources. Maybe you want to pivot and get your master's in organizational psychology and work with teams in order to support with team building. With Uranus energy, we don't know where exactly the story is taking us, but it's that moment in the middle of the night where you review the clues, you recognize I want to change, and you just have this idea around what if I could change? Because that's the biggest way to change your life is to recognize that you have the ability to do so. Like Uranus energy will zap us out of any self-imposed perspectives that keep us stuck. Of course, some outer factors in life do truly ensnare us. Like Saturn energy is these unavoidable realities, aspects of society, and just the finite expectations. Maybe there is an energy, even in the vibe check of the week, where you're like, okay, the job market is what it is. Maybe this has to be like a 5-year plan, but at least I'm recognizing this stress that I'm constantly in, this anxiety, this dissatisfaction of what I'm doing, this energy where I feel like I have to support these surface level conversations, this energy where I feel like I need to hide all of the shady things that my company is doing and be their mouthpiece and not speak my own authentic truth. Maybe I have to play by the rules with the energy of Saturn, but I have the ability to change. And to change, it means being able to step into the mindset that that is possible for you. Sometimes we keep ourselves stuck because we don't think that we can genuinely change. And that's the energy of Uranus stepping into 0 degrees Gemini around honoring and recognizing what if this new idea, the seed that I'm planting could grow into something? What if something that I learn could be my new future? What if the seed grows into something beautiful? What if I could design a life that is authentic to me? What if I could recognize that this path is not the one that I want to continue to create and shift gears, create my own plot twist? What if I can reclaim my power as the protagonist of my story? Like I said at the beginning of this video, think about how different your life is now than it was in 2018. What could your next Uranus story have for you? Should you choose a new narrative or even choose a new timeline? I'm not saying all of us need to change our lives this week, but there's an energy around recognizing that only you have the ability to do so. And it starts with a novel perspective, a paradigm shift, a mindset shift. Maybe for some of us, it'll happen in the middle of the night. I hope that nobody has insomnia this week. I'm not putting it out there. But that's the energy of the vibe check, is that sudden aha. The clues have been there all along, but sometimes it just takes viewing it in a new perspective. You've been trying to manage the anxiety and manage the stress and manage the surface level conversations to the best of your ability. But this is an energy around, what if I don't have to? What if I create a life where I don't have to perform as much? What if I create a life where I get to be true to myself and step into work that genuinely excites me and exhilarates me? Have conversations that genuinely enlighten myself and others. What if we're at the beginning of a new story that will most certainly have plot twists for us? Let's be real about the nature of Uranus. You know, the journey of you shifting gears, it may be challenging. It may have some unexpected snafus and pivots in store. But it's also recognizing that you are the protagonist. If you are bored of a particular story and you are bored of certain excuses of why you're in that story around, oh, this is what it's expected of me and there's no way I could possibly change. Gosh, by the time that I graduate, I'll be this year old. It's like there gets to be a point in time when you are kind of sick of the same mental loops. And Uranus and Gemini is like a new way of viewing the situation, a new way of viewing your life. So we will dive into this astrology with so much more depth within our day-by-day analysis. I just want to give you a heads up that I am based in California, so all times that I utilize are PDT. Please adjust to your time zone if you are located elsewhere in the world. And I also have timestamps below. I know a lot of you like to listen to the first part and then save the days for the days that go by. Just know that that's an option for you if you are newer to my content. I have Gemini midheaven, so I do tend to be quite talkative. You know, there's a lot to this week's astrology, which we will discuss in detail, but just know if it's overwhelming to digest as a full podcast, you can always listen bit by bit. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology for Monday. On Monday, July 7th, headline of the day and the week is that at 12:45 a.m. PDT, Uranus enters Gemini. The first page of a story that will be written until 2033, that will most certainly have some twists and turns, shall we say. Such is the nature of Uranus. And there's a reason why we consume media that does tantalize us in such a way. It would genuinely be boring if it all went right, or if we all knew exactly what was to come. The journey of life would be boring. The journey of reading that book would be boring. Playing that video game, watching that TV show would be boring. And I know some of you are listening to this like, Haley Comet, I want boring. I would love some boring. I don't want any more chaos. And again, I'm not saying it needs to be chaotic, but the very nature of Uranus is those plot twists. It's those sort of chapters that you could not have anticipated that keeps you reading, right? And it's those twists and turns of life that keep it interesting, that keep you learning, at least with Uranus and Gemini. There's many lessons to come. And again, from an ego level, we want to know exactly what is coming from, but from a soul level, we are here to learn from the surprises and the shockwaves. And this is not me insinuating that we need to be like, yay, something turned my world upside down, but it's all good because it's part of the journey. But it's just knowing with Uranus and Gemini, we could try to predict exactly where the lightning is going to strike, but we're just wasting our effort and our energy. And it's just going to be important wherever possible to electrify a new perspective. Again, Gemini governs the hands. I always think with Gemini energy, it's like on one hand, this sucks, but on the other hand, I learned something. Or on the other hand, it's kind of funny. Or on the other hand, it set me up for this and this. And so with Uranus and Gemini, this is a transit that I would deeply encourage you to dive into. On my YouTube channel, I have an all signs Uranus and Gemini forecast that breaks down what we can expect to see collectively during this time, as well as what shifts Uranus in Gemini will have in store for you based on the life arena, the house or houses that it's transiting within your chart. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll link it below. If you're watching via podcast, head over to my YouTube, Haley Comet Astrology, to get dialed in on that, because this is a transit that is so shocking and so major that it deserves its own deep dive. And we're at the precipice of it. So this is a journey where we can't really read the spoiler alerts of it. Like maybe our ego would want that, to know exactly what's to come, but we won't know exactly what this story has in store. It's like trying to write a book review before you've read the book. It's like, okay, just know that a new story is being written. We can most certainly tune into some of the themes that we'll have in store based on Gemini and what house or houses holds Gemini within your chart. But the very nature of Uranus is that it does prompt some WTF moments. That's just the nature of Uranus. And I'm sure you know that, thinking back at the last Uranus story, Uranus and Taurus. I want to make it so clear that this story is not completely done. Uranus will depart Taurus for good next year. We're writing the prologue of this journey. We get a taste of it from July 7th until November 8th, and then we wrap up the Uranus and Taurus story, which I'm sure contemplating since 2018 has been quite a story with some twists and turns, quite a roller coaster ride, especially when you look at which house in your chart holds Taurus. I am just regularly astounded by astrology and its accuracy. You would think doing this for as long as I've done this, I would no longer be shocked or surprised, but every so often I just have a moment where I'm just blown away. And sometimes it shows up in like small ways within my life around, of course, this email would come through when I'm having this transit, or of course this reschedule happened and it landed on this day. Like there's such alignment when you really dial into this art of interpretation. It's just astounding at how it aligns, sometimes without you even being aware of it, just like naturally seeing how it threads into your life. It's incredible, truly. But I didn't really contemplate it until I'm sitting here talking with you today, thinking about how my Uranus and Taurus story has showed up so literally. In 2018 was when I quit my 9-to-5. I was already giving astrology readings at this point. I was teaching yoga at this point. I was doing freelance opportunities on the side at this point. And when I think back on these past 7 years of working unusually, again, my transition from working at my 9-to-5 to doing this, it was not me going straight from that to this. I've worked a lot of weird or unusual jobs. I was the assistant to a medium. I marketed a poop book. I managed a fashion show. I helped ghostwrite a book about cannabis and love, we'll say. I've worked a lot of weird jobs, and that's outside of the astrology part of it. I mean, within astrology, I've worked a lot of really unusual events. I've gotten to have some amazing opportunities. I've connected with so many different people. When I think back at these past 7 years, it has been quite a journey filled with many plot twists and ups and downs. You would probably say the same as you think about your Uranus and Taurus journey, because the more that you own what is weird and unusual about you, the more that you call in weird and unusual opportunities or weird and unusual people. Oftentimes we can get very formulaic with things around, we go to college, then we get a job, and then all of the pieces. There are opportunities yet to be carved because you have to invent it. Like there are so many other options besides like option A and option B, and this leads to this. And it's not that you need to figure it all out. Like I would have never been able to tune into, okay, I'm going to quit my 9-to-5 and then I'm going to work this job as the assistant to a medium and then I'm going to market the poop book. Like I would have never conceptualized that in a million years. And I'm not saying you need to. A step one can just be owning your authenticity and not trying to make yourself fit into a life that doesn't fit you. Like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and thinking that you're the problem around, I'm so stressed, I'm anxious all the time, I can't talk about the topics that are in alignment with my ethics and my integrity, I don't enjoy 95% of what it is that I'm doing. And when it comes to work in the vibe check, like, of course, there's going to be elements of work that are not our favorite every single day. But again, our protagonist within the vibe check, it was like, I'm the issue because I'm stressed all the time, I'm anxious all the time, and I don't enjoy this, I'm the issue. Versus, what if I just find a square hole? What if I, rather than trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, I find something that accommodates me or allows me to be myself rather than feeling like I'm flawed or wrong for being the way that I am. It comes to be a point in time, of course, it's important to take radical accountability, especially with Saturn retrograde in Aries, to really look at ourselves. But it comes to be a point in time around, oh, maybe I'm not the issue. Maybe I'm not the problem. Maybe it's not my fault that I'm dealing with chronic anxiety and that I get panic attacks every single Sunday, or that I don't like what it is that I do. I have nothing in common with the people that I have to network with on behalf of me working with in PR. Like, what if I'm not the problem? I can, of course, take accountability for my role in it, but what if there is a world that would simply fit me better? Because a lot of times we internalize that. We feel like there's something wrong with me and so much easier for everybody else. Again, a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Like, if only I was more rounded. It's like, no, you came as you are. You came as you are. And sometimes it takes that perspective shift around, oh, maybe this just is not for me. Furthermore, what if change would be possible rather than just continually doing the same thing over and over, trying to fit into this hole, rather than trying to live the same week over and over again? What if I could even just electrify a new perspective, an aha moment? What if I could carve something different within my world? It starts with an idea. And the journey will take you in different places. You might decide that you go into HR and that leads you to something. Like, you never know where the journey will take you, but you need to at first allow in an idea, an aha. And honoring that the journey will teach you and change you. Venus is in Gemini and it trines Pluto. We had Venus sextile Saturn and Neptune on Sunday, so you could feel some soft reverberations of that energy. Listen to last week's Magic Monday episode to get dialed in on that. But now Venus is trining Pluto, which is deepening. That's why within the vibe check, there was this desire around, I want deeper conversations. Like, I feel like these journalists that I'm needing to network with and these conversations, the people I'm having to butter up on behalf of my company, like, I want depth. Just a heads up for anyone who works in PR, I'm not at all saying it's surface level. I'm just saying the protagonist within our vibe check was really craving camaraderie and community and depth and realness within her network and within her particular industry. It was a lot of having to be very PR, right? Be very corporate speak approved. And it was just that depth and desire for community was just not being necessarily met. So just heads up there, not shading anyone who works in PR. But with Venus trine Pluto, you could also be craving that too, like deep conversations. We talked about Venus and Gemini last week, that there's this kind of social butterfly energy, wanting to connect and collaborate with different sorts of individuals and people and associates. And with the trine to Pluto, being profoundly changed in big or small ways and feeling profoundly changed on behalf of these connections. Again, it doesn't even have to be the same people. You can have a conversation with someone that you meet for the first time and still experience a level of intimacy and depth that cuts through anything surface level and leave the conversation changed as a result. And we experience more depth within our conversations or within our connections, the more that we allow ourselves to be seen, the more that we allow ourselves to be heard within our trueness, within our authenticity. I think Mercury retrograde in Leo is going to be a review for many of us around where it is that we feel like we have to perform. And with Venus trine Pluto, sometimes we can be shocked by the amount of depth that we are able to create with people that we do not know simply by allowing ourselves to go there. This is not me saying that you need to go, trauma dump at the happy hour, but there is an energy. The more that you embrace your authenticity and your weirdness and maybe be rather candid or very honest about something, sometimes that creates the environment for other people to be honest as well and to have conversations that might be a little unique, a little weird, right? Uranus entering Gemini, Venus in Gemini, trining Pluto in Aquarius. And if you are someone who struggles with how to get there, you want depth from your conversations, you want depth from your community, but you struggle with getting there. With Venus and Gemini, ask questions. Like, that can encourage people to plunge deeper. Like, I've been at happy hours where we were talking about, loved ones who have been deceased and angel numbers and things like that, just by conversations that I was able to probe. And again, it cuts below what is expected societally and helps bring in that human dynamic, which helps us feel less alone. And maybe some of you are finding this in person. Some of you could be finding this online, this desire to connect or have a level of community. Some of you could be finding it within the group chat in some way. Some of you could also find it via reading, listening to a podcast, watching a video that makes you feel less alone because it cuts through the fluff and helps go to the depth of the experience. There could be a nudge here. Other than that, the moon is in Sagittarius all day long. We are prepping for the full moon later on this week, which sometimes can make things feel a little bit busier as it builds. And with the energy of the Sagittarius moon, wanting to stay committed to our own beliefs or to our own big picture, it can be a nudge here and to speak from the heart, to speak authentically. With the Sagittarius moon trining Mercury and Leo, that could come through within writing. There can be an energy around feeling a bit scattered. I warned you about Uranus and Gemini, but this is also co-signed by the Sagittarius moon squaring Mars in Virgo. You could be feeling a little bit drained, overwhelmed, trying to balance the big picture vision with the small steps necessary. This would be the energy around being up in the middle of the night, thoughts racing, inspired and excited about the idea of change, but struggling around, okay, here's the big picture of what I want, but there's so many little steps that I need to make happen. I need to figure out if I want to go to school, how to get into school. If I want to go in this direction, I've got to figure out this and that. Like that energy around getting overwhelmed by the small details of it, which of course, the small details of it do support the big vision. We'll talk more about that with the Capricorn full moon trining Mars in Virgo. But right now you could be feeling a clash around, I want it to feel adventurous and expansive. And sometimes these annoying details can bring us down to earth and squash the vision. So it's going to be important to maintain both. The moon will square Mars in Virgo at 2:29 p.m. So you may find the afternoon is not too terribly productive. You could feel like your energy is quite scattered. You could feel like your energy is quite all over the place. On Tuesday, July 8th, the moon continues on in Sagittarius all day long, trining Chiron in Aries at 8:04 p.m. The Sagittarius moon is an optimistic, adventurous energy. Even if there are plot twists and detours on the journey, the energy of Sagittarius is around re-anchoring that within the bigger story, the quest of it all. For me, for example, sharing my Uranus and Taurus journey since 2018, there were a lot of moments of uncertainty. There were a lot of weird jobs, uncomfortable jobs and moments. But now, witnessing it all as part of the quest, I'm able to laugh at it or see the humor in it, or at least appreciate what it taught me, which is hard to do when we're living in something, to come back to the bigger picture around, will I remember this really in 2 years' time? Can I continue to follow my arrow, right? The energy of Sagittarius is the archer, following our arrow wherever it may lead. And the energy of Sagittarius is also very connected to authenticity and being very honest with who it is that we are, which can be healing, especially with that trine to Chiron. It can be healing to live in alignment with our own truth. We will say our protagonist within the vibe check, like that energy of having to lie on behalf of the company and fake it, like to a certain degree, that was impacting the protagonist's well-being and just enjoyment of life. Like it was starting to manifest. Like when we feel like we have to fundamentally play a role or perform, and we fundamentally feel like there's two selves or dual selves, a lot of times we do experience cognitive dissonance or just an energy around feeling in misalignment because we are having to play two different roles around who it is that we are inwardly or truly and who it is that we feel like we have to be. And there is a theme this week about who we are at home and who we are out the world. We have the Capricorn full moon on Thursday. Sun is in Cancer, what's private. Moon is in Capricorn, what's public. And it's not to say that you need to be exactly who you are when you're just at home hanging out with your besties as you would be in a boardroom. Of course, there's situations, there's conduct, things like that. I'm not insinuating that there's not, but there's a difference between that versus fundamentally feeling like you've had to create an artificial self in order to survive. And it takes a lot of energy to perform. It takes a lot of energy to put on a show. And furthermore, it affirms inwardly every time you feel like you have to put on a show or be what's expected of you. It tells yourself you are not good enough how it is that you are. This is who you need to be liked, to be approved of, which is not a good message to have within. So that's why it can be so healing when you step into the truth of who it is that you are, when you allow yourself to have some quirky, weird, deep conversations at the happy hour, at the pregame or something like this, is that it can feel so validating to see, like, I can be as I am. And it truly is such a less exhausting way to live. It could be exhausting feeling like you have to play a role. And it can also be damaging for the soul to continually affirm you need to be someone else in order to navigate this life. It could be so healing to connect with people and opportunities that see you as you are and let you be as you are. But it takes you firstly allowing yourself to be as you are. It starts with you. And it's also knowing you will not be everybody's cup of tea. That's a part of Uranus energy. As we embrace our authentic self, there will be certain opportunities and people that are not for us, but that helps us not waste our time around things that are not for us. And so really on Tuesday, we have the building energy of the full moon, which tends to be busy weeks, big emotions. But really my encouragement on Tuesday would be do the things that make you feel free and alive in yourself. Even if you do not know exactly what the story will have in store, doing what makes you feel embodied and sovereign and furthermore you is the perfect first page, or how exactly to start the story, so to speak. And it could be truly healing to step into your truth after years for some of pretending. On Wednesday, July 9th at 1:30 a.m., the moon will enter Capricorn, the sign of the moon's detriment and the sign of the full moon tomorrow. So the full moon feels are building, but are you allowing yourself to feel them? Is the question. You know, we're in Cancer season, so we're feeling all the feels. We're feeling them big. We're waxing and waning. We're honoring our intuition. We're nurturing the now. We're nourishing what we hold dear. But with the moon in its detriment, there is an energy around wanting to control, wanting to suppress, wanting to restrict our emotions, which of course there is a time and place for emotional regulation and not necessarily reacting from emotions, like responding, not reacting, can be a nudge here. But it's important not to beat yourself up around what it is that you are feeling. Again, our protagonist struggled around, there's something wrong with me. My mind works differently than other people. Like everybody else, the other publicists that I work with, they can work on press releases for hours and my mind just goes everywhere. Like I just can't focus. My mind doesn't work in this particular way. I don't love these professional environments. I don't love having to, what I perceive as tell lies about my company or spin stories in order to make it more flattering. Maybe that is the perfect fit for some, but I don't fit in this. And sometimes we internalize that. We beat ourselves up around what's wrong with you, that your mind won't do this and that you don't socialize like this and you don't work like this. Your honest energy is own your brilliance around being who it is that you are. Again, square peg, round hole. If there's nothing wrong with the hole, there's nothing wrong with the peg. It's just not the right fit. And your brilliance is around your eccentricities, your unique qualities, your unique facets. And you could have stayed at that job just beating yourself up around what's wrong with you, rather than honoring the data around this feels off. This doesn't feel true to me. This doesn't feel authentic. And that's alive on Wednesday because the moon squares off with Saturn, squares off with Neptune, both in Aries in the morning hours, like between 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. PDT. And how this could show up to a practical level is that you could feel quite overwhelmed in the morning time, overwhelmed by emotion that you're trying not to feel, overwhelmed with beating yourself up over some sort of mistake or something that's not going your way. The energy of Saturn makes things hard and the Neptune energy makes us absorb. So it just kind of feels like a work mistake that you keep beating yourself up for over and over and over again around, how could I have forgotten not to use that company jargon within that particular press release? And now the journalist took this quote. And it's like beating yourself up over and over and again, internalizing it. Neptune is in Aries, the sign of self. So making it something true around you, around I am a failure. I am bad at this. I am flawed for how my brain works and how I am. And of course, we need to take radical accountability, especially with Saturn Aries stationing retrograde this Saturday. But it's important to know that you are not defined by your mistakes and that you are not a machine. I would argue that a lot of us have very high standards of ourselves with the moon transiting Capricorn today. That afternoon, the Capricorn moon will oppose Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter does expand what it touches, and we're right before the full moon. So it is bringing up emotions. But again, are you allowing yourself to feel them? Are you suppressing them? Are you restricting them? Because sometimes we suppress and we suppress and we suppress until finally it like needs to surface eventually, right? At some point, the pressure begins to build to a certain degree. Oppositions do bring emphasizing of differences energy. So it could also be a difference around this is what I have to do out in the world, like with the energy of Capricorn moon. This is what my reputation requires. This is what my job requires, or what the reality of life requires, versus this is what it is that I find personally meaningful with the energy of Jupiter in Cancer. And sometimes it can feel impossible to bridge the gap around how can I allow my outer world to bring about what has meaning within my world? How can I rectify these seemingly opposing elements of life? And there's absolutely a way, even if you don't feel like your line of work currently or your reputation or whatever it is that you contribute to an outer way, even if you don't feel like it is your life's work or your dream job, there's absolutely a way to encourage more meaning within it. Again, our protagonist, it's like, wasn't particularly lit up around the press releases, but like, my goodness, that they got to advocate for actually having a veggie in the company cafeteria. That felt good. That felt meaningful. You can always find those glimmers of meaning. And sometimes those glimmers of meaning or data are clues towards this feels good. Even if the big picture, the role that I'm in is not in alignment. And I know that I had this aha that it's not for me. These clues can help me in taking that first step or figuring out what is meaningful to me. Oftentimes we look for meaning in these really big picture ways, but oftentimes meaning can be found within our daily realities. We look out in the world, what's my purpose? But purpose can be something that's threaded into our daily reality. You can navigate your life with purpose. You can live a meaningful, purposeful life where it is that you are now. And the nature of Jupiter is that the more that we tune into it, the more that it expands. So the more that you see purpose and meaning, the more you will experience. The more you anchor in the vibration of gratitude, the more you will be grateful for. The more opportunity you intentionally tune into, the more opportunity that you will find. What you focus on expands. So if you focus on how things feel meaningless and purposeless, you will likely tune into more of that data. Whereas if you look for joy, meaning, gratitude, purpose, whatever it is that you're looking for within your life, you will see more of it, even if it has to show up in just the smallest sliver of what you see currently. Look for it and it will expand. On Thursday, July 10th, happy full moon in Capricorn. The full moon exacts at 1:32 p.m. PDT. This lunation lands at 18 degrees Capricorn. So you'll want to see where within your chart holds 18 degrees Capricorn. That is a particular life arena, a particular house that is being emphasized with this full moon. And it can just bring in illuminations around what is sacred and private and soulful with the Cancer sun versus what is out in the world with the energy of the Capricorn moon, what it is that you are building. And we tend to associate Capricorn energy with business and career, which absolutely the themes are somewhat integrated, but really the nudge of Capricorn is to arise to our own potential, to be the best that we can be, whether our chosen aim is being a parent or creating change within our community or creating change within our world or mastering a creative talent. There's really just this nudge and sometimes drive and pressure to be the best that we can be and to really grow to our heights. If Cancer is the root network underneath the tree, Capricorn is the heights that the leaves stretch to. It's what people can see of us. It's what our legacy may be or what our reputation will be or success in a certain way. And this is a full moon around the alignment or the misalignment around what's deeply sacred and what's out in the world. Like I stated earlier, it's not saying that you need to be exactly the same everywhere that you are. Obviously, you're going to be a little bit different if you're hanging out with your besties, if you are with your partner, if you're with your kids, if you're in the boardroom, if you are networking. Of course, there's going to be various components of you that you pull out. There's going to be various nuances by way of your speech and what you choose to say and what you choose not to say. I would encourage mindfulness when it comes to your words with Mercury in its pre-retrograde shadow period. but there should be some sort of alignment. It should not feel like fundamentally like you are living a double life. Maybe for some that can feel electrifying and exciting to live a double life. I know for me, when my life looked like that, I just felt exhausted. It's so much energy having to fundamentally be different people. I was amazed how much energy it actually opened up for me the more that I was authentic and the more that I was true to myself and the more that I cut out any sort of like friendship or opportunity or relationship where I felt like I had to shift into that fake self or the Haley show. You free up more you out of you. And when you are in alignment around what nourishes you and what's sacred and what's soulful directly supports what you build out in the world, it's more conducive for growth and growth in the achievements that you really want to have. We'll say our protagonist, it's like, is a great publicist. And to shift gears does mean starting over in a sense as it relates to their career. You know, Uranus at 0 degrees, this is a pure potentiality degree. So there could be an energy around beginning again, honoring the student mentality of Gemini energy. And there's a risk in that, absolutely. But it's wanting to build a pathway where those outer wins feel nourishing, because it's an aim that you have chosen. That's really the nudge with Capricorn Moon, is that it's like, this is the goal that I have chosen. I want to be the best that I can in this particular aim. I want to be the best pianist that I can be. I want to be the best parent that I can be. I want to be the best publicist I can be, because it's soulful to me. At least it means something. Even if there's elements of work where, yes, there's going to be bad days regardless. There's going to be some sort of company jargon at any particular moment. There's going to be deadlines. Like, even if we are doing our life's work, there's going to be elements of it that absolutely challenge us or are a bit monotonous. Work is work. My mom would always tell me that. She's a Capricorn. She's like, work is work. Like, you can find soulful work or meaningful work, but at the end of the day, there will be elements of it that are work. But it will get more sustainable if it does feed your soul in some way. Even around, this feels like something that I want to build towards. This feels like something I want to nourish and give towards. And it's not that we all need to be working our dream job. Like, maybe for you, it's just a tuning. Like, okay, I don't feel like I came on this planet to do SEO, but this helps me provide for my family. And that's what really deeply nourishes me. So it has meaning there because of what it gives me and what it provides for me. Something like this could be a nudge. How your outer world fortifies and nurtures your inner world, and vice versa. That's also what I want to highlight, that in order to be successful, you do need to prioritize nourishing yourself. That maybe you could get ahead quicker by cutting corners and skipping meals and losing sleep. But sustainable success means success in terms of the heights that you grow towards, but also the health of all that you are, your well-being, your mind, body, soul, your heart. And success out here is not worth deprivation in here, especially not with Jupiter in Cancer. So with this full moon, it trines Mars in Virgo. And Mars in Virgo wants to refine. It wants to get better. It wants to tune into a craft. So for some, there could be an energy of reaching some sort of milestone, some sort of achievement, some sort of accolade. And maybe it'll be one that other people are applauding, but it might just be one that you're applauding. And my encouragement would be to celebrate your wins, even if it doesn't seem very impressive to an outer standard. This is also what makes this success more sustainable and what encourages us to keep going. Like, even tuning into how you're getting better at something can be valuable motivation with Mars in Virgo. How you just started taking this particular yoga class and now week 3, you feel so much stronger in your arms, and that gives you motivation to continue to go. Or you finally were able to read sheet music just by looking at it for the first time and playing it. Like, those small victories, these small wins, celebrate them. See how you are getting better, how you are refining your craft. This is what makes those rewards at the end so satisfying, is the work that goes into it, the chiseling of it. You know, we tend to want things to come easy, especially when we're in the moment of it. But again, as we look back on our journeys, we experience so much pride within ourselves when we remember what went into it. Like, that is what makes those wins so satisfying and so satisfactory, is because you know what went into it. Because when I think back to my journey since 2018, of course, sometimes the metrics feel good and the little accomplishments here and there feel good. Like, as human beings, of course, we want that external validation. But what has been the most fulfilling for me personally has been knowing what has gone into this, knowing how hard I've worked on this, and also seeing that I've gotten better, that I've stepped more into my craft because I showed up, because I refined. Like Mars in Virgo is around showing up for the small steps that build the grand vision with the energy of the Capricorn full moon, because the very nature of any sort of success is that it is a bit of a mirage. It's like a mountaintop, right? We get to the top of the mountain, and then once we're there, we're like, yes, I reached my goal. Then we see different mountaintops. And again, it feels good in this lifetime to learn and to get better and to grow and to take on different challenges. Absolutely. But it's knowing that moment around being like, okay, I'm at the top of the mountaintop. Yay. It's so temporary. Then you see new goals, new levels that you want to reach towards. And what makes it the most gratifying is not the heights that you've reach towards and the applause. It's like knowing how much you sweat hiking up that mountain, knowing what went into it, how you tested yourself and challenged yourself. Like that's what makes it gratifying. It's not really for the applause. Like even if you build something successful or an accolade and something that doesn't soulfully sustain you or mean anything to you, it'll feel hollow. It'll feel empty. And so the Capricorn full moon is knowing whatever it is that you are wanting to build or ascend to in the outer world. It will take work. Listen, this full moon trines Mars. It will take, some effort, refinement, showing up, discipline, absolutely. But it'll be worth it if it is soulful. And it's more sustainable when you are taking care of yourself and taking care of what holds dear. Capricorn energy, we've got Saturn retrograde. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And yes, maybe you get to the top of the mountain quicker if you are not taking care of yourself, not sleeping, not doing things that make you happy, but it will not be sustainable. You will burn out. Sustainable success, taking care of all that you are, as well as celebrating your success as you go, is really the nudge of this full moon. On Friday, July 11th, I want to let you know firstly that the Capricorn moon does square Chiron in Aries before 5 a.m. And if we use really wide orbs, we could technically consider Chiron involved in the full moon. I typically wouldn't, but this can show up around that hollow, empty feeling that I shared with you, around realizing that you reached a certain accolade or achievement or applause, and then recognizing that there's a hollowness to it, because it's like, this isn't mine. With Saturn and Neptune and Aries, there's such a nudge in the cosmos currently to carve your path or to live a life that is very radically true to self, to have the courage to be disliked, to be misunderstood. And with the energy of the Capricorn moon square Chiron, it could just be this hollowness around, I thought this was going to fix it. I thought once I got this promotion as this publicist, or I signed this particular client, I thought this was going to fix this hollow feeling within, or this feeling around not feeling chosen, not feeling understood. And just thinking, okay, well, maybe this next mountaintop will fix it. Next mountaintop will fix it. Next mountaintop will fix it. Again, it'll keep us continually chasing heights when in fact it's a lack of depth, in a sense, around really wanting things that pour into you, that nourish you, who it is that you are authentically. And with the energy of moon square Chiron, there just could be pangs in big ways or small ways, especially off the heels of that full moon, around either being very hard on yourself, beating yourself up, feeling like you're not as far as you should be, feeling like your worth is tied to your success, and particularly success seen through other people's eyes. Again, all of the validation, approval, and applause out here will not ever supersede a lack of nourishment from in here. And that's really what Cancer season is trying to bring to your awareness. And so with the energy of moon square Chiron, there could just be an energy around feeling a bit deprived emotionally, or feeling a bit hollow, or just having kind of a now what sensation. And the moon will enter Aquarius at 10:21 a.m., trining Uranus in Gemini. And it's knowing that oftentimes when we have those now what energies, and it just feels like, is life just going to continually be this, systematic and what have you? We forget that, right? When we are in the midst of something, sometimes things can feel just like hollow and repetitive because it just feels like it's going to be the same day over and over and over again. But you can have an idea that changes your life. You could get an email that changes your life. Like, it's important to know that anything can happen at any point in time. I know those who have charts who like to prepare and plan, that makes you a bit uneasy. But with the energy of Friday, it's important to embrace free will, firstly, remembering that you have it and that you can shake things up at any point in time. In big ways, yes, absolutely. A career shift like our protagonist, or even small ways around, I'm gonna go get donuts. I'm going to pitch myself for this really unusual gig, or I'm going to reach out to this person to see if they want to collaborate. Like, it's remembering that you have free will, and particularly around collaboration, saying yes to some sort of new social group. The moon is Aquarius, so there typically is a desire to want to connect with other individuals or with humanity at large, or even believing that you can create change within humanity. You know, I speak a lot within Magic Monday about the micro of our experiences, but it's important to know that Uranus as a planet is very connected to the macro of humanity and believing in change. Yes, within our personal lives around I can change my life. It might take hard work and effort, okay, with the Capricorn Full Moon, trine Mars, and Saturn Retrograde, but I can change. It starts with that perspective shift. But that's also necessary when it comes to societal change that we're wanting to see, is believing that we can change, that it is not hopeless, holding the vision for a more humane future. It takes that paradigm shift, because when you anchor in that perspective, you start looking for ways around how can I embody this and find ways in order to really create a more beautiful future, even if it shows up in small ways. You know, it can be so nefarious how we can feel so hopeless and overwhelmed by the state of things on the macro that we feel like we can do nothing at all. Like, remember your power, especially with these Aries placements. Like, it might feel like it's just a drop of the bucket in the grand scheme of things, but a drop in a bucket is better than nothing. And it takes the dreamers. It takes people who are willing to be weird to envision a more beautiful future, or to create ideas that change people, or to uplift, or to inspire. Again, I go so much deeper into this within the Uranus and Gemini video, but it's just an important reminder. But the energy of the Aquarius moon on Friday, it wants to work together. It wants teamwork with the sextile to Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, alignment with Pluto. It's this energy around believing in a more beautiful future, banding together with other humans who also believe that, and believing in the power of change and transformation, whether that's showing up on an inner level or an outer level. On Saturday, July 12th, at 9:07 p.m., Saturn will station retrograde in Aries. It's cracking me up that Neptune and Saturn are like on each other's heels in Aries, and Neptune stationed retrograde last week, and now Saturn is stationing retrograde this week. And it reviews what has been ongoing thus far this year. Have we been doing the work around defining self, Saturn in Aries, being radically accountable over self, Saturn in Aries, as well as chiseling wherever holds Aries within our chart? Like, have you been doing the work in that arena, or have you been cutting corners? Saturn retrograde is going to review that. It's also going to review the later Pisces degrees as well. So it really is a review of the year thus far. You know, we're halfway through the year now that we're in July, more than halfway through the year, and just reviewing. Of course, this year has been quite wild, roller coaster ride, lots of pivots and shifts, but taking radical accountability around if you had certain visions that you saw for the year at large, and knowing that only you have the ability to change your life. Only you have the ability to make your dreams come true, with Saturn through the early degrees of Aries and the later degrees of Pisces. There is a responsibility to chiseling your own dreams. Saturn retrograde is going to review that. Again, if you feel like you've been doing the work, Saturn retrograde could be a time that our efforts start to catch up, finally. But with Saturn, it is the planet of karma. So it's like what we have sown, we reap. And Saturn Aries makes us get really real with ourselves, really honest with ourselves. Our protagonist could likely be doing some elements of their job better. But there's also an element around, this is just not for me. I feel like I'm trying to be someone that I'm not. I'm trying to fit into a mold that is not mine. This is not my life. It's like that light bulb moment in the middle of the night was around, this is not my life. I'm trying to be this super publicist person that this is not a role that I want to play any longer. And with Saturn retrograde, it could just be reviewing what we've been building, what we've been creating. And this feels really relevant that it's happening 2 days after the Capricorn full moon, because for some of you, I could see that there's an energy around some sort of like accolade comes your way or some sort of like opportunity to advance within your field. And there's just an energy around, I've worked so hard for this. I should feel excited about this. I should feel satisfied, but I just feel like empty. Reviewing what you've built thus far and questioning if you want to continue building it, like reevaluation stage. And with the Uranus and Gemini energy, light bulb moment around what if it could be different? What if I could be different? If I want to believe in a world of change, but I am continually choosing the same thing over and over again, like where can I be the change that I want to see, even if that shows up on a very micro level? We as humans do not want to change. We like predictability. We like what is familiar. And it can be all too easy and tempting to wait on outer circumstances to bring us the change that we want to see. And again, I'm not glossing over the realities of Saturn and the realities of life. It's not saying we can say poof, magically there. But with Saturn retrograde, it could be a review around, have I been genuinely accountable with self, like really looking at my efforts? And am I working towards what I desire? There could be a review of that and having it really real with self. We've got Neptune retrograde, now Saturn retrograde as well. And the moon will be in Aquarius all day on Saturday. So this weekend, you could definitely feel this desire to want to connect with other humans, to align with other humans, like really honoring that soul food of your people, whether people are online, in different countries, in the songs that you play, the art that you consume. It's just those individuals who make you feel less alone and less alien in this world, right? With the Aquarius moon energy, as well as laughing at the bizarre facets of life. That feels relevant to say with a very Uranian flavored week. Sometimes the journey is just so baffling and confusing that you can't help but to giggle or to laugh at it. Again, with Venus and Gemini, Uranus and Gemini, something could be unpleasant or not what you anticipated on one hand, but also be a little funny on the other side. So sometimes Aquarius moon can just enjoy the absurdity of life. And also the learning of life. This is an Aries moon. It trines Venus and Gemini in the early hours. So learning from every person that you engage with, learning a fun fact from every random article that you digest, signing up to learn a new platypus fact every day, a tech service that delivers you a platypus fact every single day. That'll spice up the boardroom, is starting the conversation with the platypus fact. I actually don't know one fun fact about platypi. I don't even know the plural of platypus, but if anybody knows any fun facts about platypi or about platypus, I would love to know. Comment below. But it's not saying it needs to be about platypus, just sometimes the energy of Aquarius moon could be just diving into random topics. And with the energy of the trine of Venus and Gemini, to learn, or even embracing unusual or unique people as an opportunity to learn, where this might be somebody who's definitely from a different walk of life and you definitely have not had a lot of similar experiences, but then you get to like pick their brain around what does it feel like to do this and to live here and all of these things. You learn, seeking to walk away from every conversation, learning something and listening as much as you talk. The Aquarius moon opposes Mercury in Leo. Again, be mindful with your language with Mercury retrograde starting next week. Sometimes words that are said or information that is divulged gets reviewed. And again, if you anchor into every conversation around what can I learn here rather than how can I allow my voice to be heard? Even if you are like a manager or leadership role, really striving, how can I learn about your perspective? Everybody gives us an opportunity to learn, and it's going to be important not to be like high and mighty and feel like we know everything. And even if you're not the one who's doing that, you may encounter some individuals like that, or individuals who are just talking just to hear themselves talk. Could be a little frustrating today. On Sunday, July 13th, the Aquarius moon will sextile Chiron in the morning time. So great time to do your weird niche hobby that just gives you joy, even if it was something that you were bullied for or belittled for in the past, allowing yourself to prioritize it. Aquarius energy altogether tends to be kind of a step ahead, where oftentimes what you were considered weird for liking or being into is then a trend outside. And it's like, hello, where was this energy when I was super into this and everybody was making fun of me? But whether it's considered cool now or not, it can be very helpful and gratifying to pursue the interests that we have or the unique hobbies that we have that just make us feel happy and integrated. And again, ourselves. Oftentimes we have so much battle with self around this is who I am, but I shouldn't be this way. And it's like, what if I could build a life where I didn't feel like I had to suppress so much of who it is that I am? And that does genuinely start with self. And the moon will enter Pisces that evening at 4:45 p.m. So I will say we do have a very long void moon, the moon Aquarius. And so sometimes with void moons, we could feel a little sleepy, a little out there. Saturn retrograde the night prior can sometimes bring this somber energy in the air, this energy of karma and time. And again, with Saturn retrograde, it is taking accountability of your journey thus far. It's being radically authentic with who it is that you are, what it is that you want to build, what it is that you do not want to build, the path that you genuinely want to trailblaze, and beyond just trailblazing, chiseling it. Like Aries is the spark of the idea, and Saturn is the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. It's one thing to have the vision in the middle of the night around, I'm going to change my life. It's quite another to do it. And it does need to be done in order to happen. It's important to make this path sustainable by taking care of yourself as you create that path. But just with Saturn energy in the air, things could feel a little somber, hard. You could be beating yourself up, as I highlighted. Void moon, Saturn retrograde, it's important not to bully yourself if you didn't get as much done as you wanted to get done this weekend, if you weren't as productive, if you weren't as efficient. Let it go. Saturn energy really sharpens into focus the importance of time. And sure, we should strive to utilize our time in the ways that we see best fit, but it truly is a waste of time beating ourselves up around how we should have better utilized time. And the evening time does feel like you could do something spontaneous. With the Pisces moon, there could be this desire to escape into your own world, escape into art, or with the energy of the Pisces moon squaring Uranus in Gemini, some of you could have a random psychic download or aha or synchronicity of some sort. Again, it just takes one idea, one download, one intuitive hit to start the momentum to create an impact or create a change within our life. Again, it needs to be matched by Saturn, which is some energy of consistency and intentionality and sometimes sacrifice and time and all of these lovely Saturn themes. But you never know when you could have an idea that changes your life. So my loves, that is our week. The Magic Monday mantra of the week to support you in navigating this week forward is, it is safe to be me. Oftentimes with Cancer season, it brings up a lot of themes around security and stability, whether that's in a practical sense, like our protagonists around, it is likely the safer path and the more stable path to stay where it is that I am. I think back to my life in 2018, and it was definitely the safer, more stable path to stay at my 9-to-5. And of course, we've got a Saturn flavored week. I'm not insinuating that it's realistic for all of us to just choose at any moment's notice a completely different path or to take the riskier path at any point in time. But it's just knowing that there's drawbacks to everything. And sometimes the safest path is not necessarily the path that promises the most growth or learning or expansion. And when we bring in this theme of authenticity, Uranus energy is around embracing the unique spirit that you are and knowing that the unique soul that you have may not have a path that is cookie cutter because you are not cookie cutter. And the more that you embrace the unique cookie shape that you have, the more you find the cookie platter that appreciates you for all of your nuances and toppings. Strange analogy, but you catch my drift. The more that you appreciate that you are not here to be like everybody else, and thus your path may not be formulaic, and that you are not a failure for not abiding by society's expectations and standards of the path that you should fall into, the more you dare to invite in a path that is unique, that may take you to some weird places like mine did. From poop books to fashion shows, all of that to lead me to what it is that I'm doing now. Full time, finally, after much freelancing and weird job balancing and all of that. But within all of that, even though I did all of these weird, odd jobs, there was an energy around owning who it is that I am as a unique person. We're all unique. And we experience so much battling within ourselves around feeling like there must be something wrong with me. Why do I not fit into this mold? Why do I fit into this role? Why am I not on the same timeline as everyone else? Maybe we're not supposed to. On this theme of it's safe to be me, it's allowing yourself to speak your truth with Uranus and Gemini, Mercury and Leo. It's allowing your authenticity to shine, allowing your weird interests or quirks to illuminate out, and reframing it around there's many uncertainties within life, but I know I can handle all of them so long as I meet them as my most authentic self. It is safe to be me. I've got me, and the right people and opportunities will get me as well. So that is our week. If you made it to the end, let me know if you are listening on a platform where you could comment by dropping